Welcome to another episode of the Game Use Podcast by Resolution Photo Matching. I'm your host, Will Hamilton. Before we get started, a quick reminder that Resolution Photo Matching is the leader in game use authentication. A ResMatch provides the highest level of accuracy, credibility, and value to your memorabilia. Visit resolutionphotomatching.com or email info@resphotomatching.com for a quote to pinpoint your piece of sports history. Now, today's guest is Jordan Gilroy, the Director of Acquisitions at Lelands Auctions. Jordan has spent just over a decade at Lelands, working directly with collectors to bring some of the most significant pieces of sports memorabilia to auction. He also does some collecting of his own that we'll discuss. And we're very excited to have him here on the show today. Jordan, welcome to the Game Use Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Will.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you on. You obviously have a unique vantage point working for an auction house, working for Lelands, and you collect, obviously. So why don't we start with that? When did you first start collecting? What got you into the hobby?
I guess in elementary school. I mean, my dad is into American history and he was a teacher. So he had friends that collected memorabilia. He collected autographs, but just of politicians and presidents. And then some of his collector friends collected sports, and I liked sports growing up, so it kind of was a mesh of both. Then went to card shows and, just snowballed from there.
Yeah. Did you gravitate towards anything more than another, like some of the game use memorabilia or the cards or just kind of whatever you could get your hands on?
When I was younger, it was the cards because I didn't have a ton of space to put stuff. and didn't have a ton of money to buy, expensive things. And cards were fun. You just bought the packs and you go to card shows. But as I got older, and right now, I enjoy the memorabilia more because you could hold it and you could know that it was on the field with a player. But cards are still cool. I mean, I collect a little bit of both too.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't go wrong. I've seen you post about some of the items in your collection, namely the one that caught my eye was a LeBron James playoff worn Miami Heat jersey. Is that one of your favorites in your collection?
It certainly is. Yeah. I mean, the stuff on my page, I'd say 90% is stuff that is consigned or, in Leland's auction. I wish I owned all that memorabilia, but luckily I do own that one. And it's awesome. It's my favorite piece I've ever had.
Yeah. Super cool. How did you get that one?
I was bidding in an auction. I was like, LeBron jerseys, they seem pretty cheap for, who he is. So, I got outbid and lost, but then I just put out a story on my Instagram saying, looking for a LeBron jersey, and someone reached out and struck a deal pretty quickly. So it just worked out that I lost the other one.
Yeah. Yeah. If you love something, let it go. It'll find its way back. That worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
What other kind of game use items do you have in your collection? Maybe, is there a first item that you had that maybe holds a special place in your heart?
A first, not so much just because I like to keep it fresh. I mean, I do like to hold on to certain things, but I do like to trade and sell just to keep the flow going. But I mean, other than that jersey, my friend and I have a pair of Gretzky's Oilers gloves, a Clemente game use bat, and just a little bit in between. It's just a lot of stuff that adds up. Not as many big things like a LeBron jersey.
Yeah, no, super cool. Pretty well-rounded. How do you go about displaying those? Do you have a pretty cool man cave going or where did those go?
Not yet. I mean, I have a 1-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, so I don't have a lot of space, but I mostly just keep the stuff here at the office because I'm here I'm here 5 days a week, 4 days a week. So it's good to see it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure you get to see plenty of other memorabilia as well at the office. Was working on the auction side of things, working in the hobby, was that something that you had thought about as a kid? Was that always a dream? How did that kind of come to fruition?
Not really. I mean, I went to card shows and collected. I just didn't think it was more of a hobby. It wasn't really an industry when I was doing it. And I graduated college in 2015. Was saying to myself, okay, well, now I'm thrown into the real world. What do I do? And I grew up on Long Island, so I reached out to Leland's and there was an open spot. I'm like, all right, well, I've been doing this my whole life. Might as well give it a shot here. And luckily, within 5 years, everything blew up. And now, this is like this big industry thing now.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
darn good timing on your part. Yeah, where did you start? What were you doing your first year at Leland's, and how has that changed as you've grown there?
Little bit of everything. I mean, they even had me photographing things and photoshopping them at one point. And I wrote a couple items just to see what I was better in. And ultimately, it ended up with fielding calls and emails and acquisitions. And it's been, yeah, I mean, it'll be 11 years next September. So it's been a long time.
Yeah, yeah, over a decade. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So nowadays, what does your typical day or maybe week look like, and does that kind of change based on how close you are to the next auction? I imagine that may fluctuate.
Yeah, I mean, as we get closer to an auction, like right now, we have an auction in a couple weeks. It's jam packed, getting the catalog ready, getting the photos ready, and getting that last minute stuff in because everyone likes to give us stuff last minute. It's really busy right now, but it's still busy year round. It's just, fielding the calls and the emails and going out on the consignment trips, whether it's a drive somewhere here on the East Coast or flying somewhere else. There's really no shortage of action.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds cool. A consignment trip. Want to get more into that and just overall, how consignment works. Myself never consigned anything with an auction house, and even maybe longtime collectors, maybe a lot of them just kind of trade with other fellow collectors, and maybe they opt not to put their items up for auction. So not everyone may be aware. Just how does that process go? Are people reaching out to you? Are you making trips to go out and see people? What does it take to get the ball rolling there?
Little bit of everything. I mean, we have people call the office and email us. Those are mostly the new people. But there are also, I mean, I've been here for 10 years, so there are a lot of people I could just shoot a text to, or I could call them and say, hey, anything new? Are you looking to sell anything at this point? Like, what are you looking to do? And feel that out. The trips are pretty much pickup situations. Like, we like to have a clear understanding of what we're getting and doing instead of blindly traveling, because that's, a lot of time and money for something that you don't really have a full grasp on. So the consignment trips are fun. You have the deal pretty much set in place, and then it's just a matter of driving out there and picking it up or flying out and picking it up. It's cool. You see new states, you see new people, you see how the rest of the country lives, and you get to do cool work and pick up cool memorabilia on the way.
Yeah, yeah, certainly a great way to see the country. Have you gone international before, overseas, anything?
Not for Lelands, no. But I mean, in
Mm,
general, yes, but
yeah,
not for Lelands. Yeah,
yeah, there you go.
yeah.
Yeah, only a matter of time. Well, as far as taking a flight back, for example, how does that work? Because obviously you don't want this. You're doing these trips for a reason to retrieve the item. We don't want to send it through shipping and just remove any of the questions from the procedure there. So do you have a carry-on essentially in your lap and it's this Babe Ruth jersey, or I'd assume you have meticulous packing procedures to keep things pristine and everything? How does that system work?
Yeah, there are times where I've even bought a seat next to me on the plane for the item. Like, I flew somewhere to pick up a trophy and literally bought a seat next to myself so I could just put the trophy next to me in the box and have no one else around it. Didn't have to check it. And all I had to do was put a seatbelt around the box, and it didn't move the whole time. So that was great. Other times, I mean, I will bring a empty suitcase full of bubble wrap for a little baseball. Um, taking no chances, not checking anything, and just getting the stuff home safe.
Yeah. Okay, I got to laugh. In my head, I'm imagining like Kramer and Seinfeld with his briefcase, and it's just Ritz crackers. But with you, it's just a baseball and bubble wrap. And
Yeah.
and then on the other side of things, like you on the plane, with the trophy, it's like Kobe or MJ sitting next to the Larry O'Brien on their way home from Game 7 or something. So, yeah, that must be kind of fun to travel with.
Yeah, it was a little nerve wracking. It was a big trophy too. It was like 2.5 feet tall in this big, huge box. I mean, luckily you couldn't see it was a trophy, but it was like 30 pounds, and I had to lug it all around the airport. And It was a nightmare, but it worked out.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially airports. People forget how to walk. You're bumping into people all the time. Yeah. You never know. So I'm sure it's a breath of fresh air when you return to the office and drop it off.
Oh yeah, big time.
Nice. Well, once you get the item in your possession and it's been consigned, what are the next steps? How do you prepare for the upcoming auction?
Pretty much putting it into the system, inventorying it, and then handing it off to be written and photographed. And if I have to do, any prelim authentication just by looking at it, we do that. But, there's really not, we sell a lot of items. So to sit down and spend an hour or two on every single item is just not necessary unless it's an important item or it's a game used jersey. You have to make sure that it's not restored or anything like that. But it's, after 10 years, it's just like a factory at this point, just going through the motions.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure everyone's a well oiled machine. How big of a team do you guys have there at Leland's?
Any given day, there's probably 10 to 12 people overall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how many? I know we have the spring auction, of course, coming up, but how many auctions do you shoot for yearly?
We do quarterly big auctions and then sometimes like fill the space in with some like monthly or pop-up auctions.
Okay, nice. And then as far as you obviously facilitate private sales as well, could you explain a little bit more about kind of that procedure, how that works? What kind of items are better suited for a private sale? Is it just on what the client wants? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, people love buying and love collecting, and sometimes they don't want to wait for the auction and they say, hey, I'm looking for these things. Sometimes you could be a collector going for a certain team or a certain sport or just, investment grade stuff. And they'll say, I'm looking for this, keep an eye out. And if I know anyone that's, holding that stuff and not wanting to auction it, you can always give them the chance to say, hey, I mean, just name your price. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So it's pretty easy to navigate because, the buyer is either saying yes or no, and the seller is either saying yes or no. So it's really a simple situation. So I like it. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I mean, people don't always know what goes on behind the scenes, but there's some pretty cool sales that go down.
Yeah. Are there any that you can mention?
Not really, just because people like to stay private. And
Mhm.
it's not like, they're celebrities, they want to stay private. They just want to keep their collections private. Not everyone likes to post on Instagram. I mean, if I got a $100,000 Babe Ruth game used bat, I would post it, but some people just don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally get that. To each their own. But you mentioned the unique behind the scenes perspective that you have. Are there some misconceptions that you think collectors often have about auction houses that you can dispel?
I'm sure I could off the top of my head. I don't know. I mean, I see like story posts sometimes where someone might be like, "Oh, the auction just wants to, make their money and they don't care about me." It's not always true. I mean, we sell thousands of lots, so there's not anything that we would do on purpose to do wrong by anyone. I mean, mistakes happen with places. You sell 10,000 items a year. There's probably going to be something along the lines of having to fix, but we're not like trying to manipulate all these things left and right. And I mean, at least with us, I don't know how other places operate, but we want to get the most for our clients. We make more money when they make more money, so we're really on the same team. We're not trying to have items sell for less because then we make less money. So maybe that's one conception that people say, oh, auctions are sometimes they don't want people to bid so their friends get it. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense because then we'd be losing money. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's not how that works. They're not out to get you. Yeah. No, that's interesting that some folks have those thoughts. But obviously you're mostly sports memorabilia, sports cards, you're obviously sports auction house, but I'm sure you've had some interesting non-sports items come through. Do you have maybe any that are top of mind, some fun stories, some unique items that you've handled recently?
we had a lock of George Washington's hair, which was pretty cool. And it was small. And it sold for it was like $30,000 or $50,000. It was insane. It had provenance all the way back to Alexander Hamilton. It was great. But I mean, that was one of the top ones I could think of. We've sold documents signed by Washington and Lincoln, and group signed photos of the Beatles. I'm sure if I went in the archives, I could find some like interesting non-autographed pieces that we've sold. But I'm an autograph guy, so those are the things that really stick out to me.
Yeah. Wow. The hair is that's bizarre. Do you know how, that was displayed before it was consigned to you, or what the new owner, what they're doing with it? I mean, I wouldn't even imagine where to begin with that.
It was originally sold through Christie's, and when we got it, it was framed beautifully with, the documentation, the provenance, a photo of Washington, and it wasn't like a gaudy 16 by 20 thing. It was nice and small, so great for displaying.
Yeah. Oh, well, very interesting. You mentioned, being an autograph guy as well. On your game use memorabilia, I know some people can be particular. Like, do you would you prefer to get it autographed, or would you prefer to leave it kind of as is if that's how it was, initially received? I don't know if you have a strong opinion one way or the other.
I mean, I like the autographs. The only way I wouldn't do it is if, I had a old jersey from like the 50s or earlier and had it signed by someone today. I mean, I don't even know if they would be alive to do that. But like, you have a flannel from, 50s, 60s and earlier with a black Sharpie autograph. Doesn't always look the best. But if it's a modern thing, then yeah, go for it as many times as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not? Okay. Cool. I want to transition to talking a little bit about some of the trends that you've seen. You already mentioned kind of coming into Leland's at a great time when the sports memorabilia market, has boomed for the last 10 years. What kind of trends have you seen? I guess even maybe more specific than just as a whole, it's been booming. And then what do you kind of foresee for the next couple of years? Do you think it's going to continue on this upward trajectory?
I think so. I mean, it seems like there are a lot of celebrities and big money people and like corporations getting into this. So it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and people are putting more money into infrastructures and setting things up for the future. So I do think there's a lot of room to grow still, even though things are blowing up. But as far as like game use items, like the single great moments are like the stuff that's going completely crazy, and like rookie jerseys, debut jerseys. I mean, debut bats and other items would be great, but jerseys are pretty much the main debut items that come out. But pretty much, yeah, iconic finals or World Series, just from specific moments or events that just make something better than just a one game worn jersey or something that's not even photo matched.
Yeah, yeah, something more significant, either record or debut. It seems like people are getting a lot sharper with these things too. Like he's still in his rookie season, but I'm buying low, or maybe it's even not that low anymore because everyone has that same kind of mindset. But yeah, we're seeing there are investment groups as well. I mean, and Mr. Wonderful comes to mind, buying the triple logo man. Yeah, do you think that's something that we're going to see creep into the industry or the hobby more and more?
I think so. I mean, and he is pretty much promoting the cards that he's buying like every day, which is genius because now people are, seeing it like, we're in the hobby, so we see it every day, but there are still people that are new to this that have never seen $1 million card before and now are thinking, wow, there's like actual money in this stuff. Like, let me look into it. But as going back to before, like photo match stuff. Now, I'm not just saying that because we're on here, but having something photo matched makes like a huge difference in price. I mean, you look at let's say a Michael Jordan game worn jersey without a photo match, it's tens of thousands of dollars, right? Like 50 grand, maybe sometimes. But with the photo match letter, it's 6 times that. Even for a 10-point game that he had, he could have played a half. If it's photo match from him, it's crazy. There are people that just want photo match stuff and they don't care about anything else. So I think that is also one sector that hopefully will continue to grow because, there's really no debating the authenticity if you could see a huge paint splatter on someone's shirt and then you have a photo of it right next to it. I mean, authenticity is key.
Yeah. No, exactly. You need the certainty that a photo match provides, just eliminating any doubt for those bidding and looking into buying an item is massive. And obviously, there's kind of been a change too, right? And, started with grading, and now it's turned to photo matching being the premier authentication form to really make sure that you can pinpoint your item to its piece of history. So I assume that's something that you look into for most of the game use items that are submitted to you.
Pretty much. I mean, it's good for us if photo matches are made because that makes the items worth more money. That means we make more money in the end. So I want to find as many matches as I possibly can because, I want to do right by the consignor. Also, it's fun to find a match, right? And it's, you're not guaranteed it, especially if it's a jersey from like the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. And when you find it, it's like you like uncovered some mystery. It's just very satisfying. I'm sure you feel the same way when you guys find stuff.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's like a needle in a haystack, especially like on the older items when it's like I've been searching for hours and hours, and then bang, you're revitalized. It's like an espresso shot or something. But
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, have there been any items that you were just getting photo matched and you thought it was one thing, maybe just a regular season game worn jersey, and then it turned out to be a massive statistical game or from the playoffs or record breaking some sort of performance, anything that really we're like, we thought it was one thing, but we actually have this on our hands. This is pretty cool.
There were a few. One, I would say there was a Michael Jordan Wizards jersey that someone sent in and they said, oh, it's just a signed jersey. I'm like, all right, cool. It's worth a couple grand. And at the time, and I get in front of me, I'm like, this is not as crisp as like an Upper Deck jersey. And it didn't have, I don't remember it having like an Upper Deck hollow on it. So I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So I just went to Getty to make sure that it wasn't used. And then I found a match actually. And then it went for, 10, 20 times what just a regular signed one would go for. That was pretty cool. And then there's a pair of shorts, like when Steve Kerr hit his game-winning three. I forget what finals or playoffs it was. I think it was the finals because there was a huge stain on the shorts. We're like, is this just dirt from storage? Like, what is this? And I went through photos from the whole season, and it ended up being from that three-pointer because then, we were like, okay, this is champagne. They were celebrating after the game. This is a champagne stain. So then we went to Getty, the game, matched it up, and yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
it was an $800 pair of game worn shorts, and then it was like from his best shot of his career.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Those stories are why, like, it's so huge. Like the MJ jersey, they think it was just a signed jersey, and it's like no, you got so much more in your hands. So that's fantastic for them and for you that they send it into you instead of just trading it away for another piece. They got its full value. So that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, that was awesome. They were happy.
Yeah. You talked about, I mentioned Mr. Wonderful and how he's promoting it, the cards he's got and getting more people into the hobby and in front of their faces that may not have otherwise been. Are you seeing a change in the demographic of people that are in the hobby? Do you think social media is contributing to that as well, given that people are kind of able to showcase their pieces there and kind of grow a community?
Yeah, social media is huge. It's almost like the most important factor because otherwise we would have to like watch the news and not many people, in their early 30s or younger watch the news. So like seeing all this stuff every single day is like a huge driving force because so many people on social media are young. And obviously there are people that are older than, early 30s. But as far as like what I see on my thing, I look at the insights and more than 50% is like 35 and younger. Mm. So, I see a lot more young people getting into it. That's on the public side. And then more like in the auction and private side, it's more like established collectors, right? In their 40s to mid 50s. Um, and they don't do as much publicly on Instagram, but they collect behind the scenes as more of like an investment type thing.
Yeah. I imagine at Leland's, you guys are working to bridge that gap as well. Obviously, promote about our auctions and recent consignments on social media. Have you found success in trying to convert newer collectors, younger collectors to turn towards the auction house?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, posting memorabilia is what we like to do more because that's what we like also, but it doesn't always get the same engagement. So like when we put up a card that's worth, let's say $10,000, we'll get 100 likes sometimes. And, if you put up a jersey that's worth $250,000, you might get like 20. So it's an interesting dynamic how social media favors cards over memorabilia so far. I just hope one day it gets a little bit more even because the memorabilia is, in my opinion, more important, because it's like a physical thing the player used or wore. And, cards are awesome, like, but they just have the pieces of it. They don't have the whole thing. So the difference there just doesn't really make sense logically to me. I think people might be coming around to wanting the full jersey over the card, but there's no debate that, cards are special too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. They still have a place, but I'm with you too. I'd love to have a jersey that I can just frame on the wall instead of, a card that can't quite see from the couch. Have to go in and inspect. But there's certainly a great way to get introduced into the hobby, and certainly a lot more accessible, given that there isn't as much of a limited quantity of game used pieces. But I think that's what also makes them special to have your own gamer, whether it be jersey, shorts, anything, to tie it back to, hey, this was worn in this game and for my favorite team, and that's pretty fun to have on an NFL Sunday when I'm in the man cave watching the game. So I want to ask from your perspective if you've seen any trends in kind of the items that are being consigned, or overall, maybe it's a sport or it's a type of item. From our side, we've seen a lot more soccer jerseys come in and a demand there. Perhaps it has to do with the World Cup coming up as well. There's certainly been an appetite for it, especially in the States, as it's we've been leading up to it the last couple years. Does that kind of hold true with you've been seeing, or anything else that jumps out to you?
Yeah, I've been seeing that soccer wise as a whole, not so much with Lelands because we stick to like the things that we know the most about, which is like baseball, basketball, football, specifically vintage baseball. So that's kind of what we, focus on. But that's not to say if someone's like, okay, I have a Messi photo match jersey, like we're going to make that a featured piece in the auction and go all out. It's just we just haven't had the people reach out to us, and it's fair because we haven't sold a lot of that stuff. So, yeah. But I hope the World Cup brings as much energy as everyone's expecting it to.
Yeah, I agree. It should be a blast. We're located here in Seattle, so we can see Lumen Field, which will be, I guess, Seattle Stadium when they rename it for the World Cup. But I'm hoping we can, get firsthand of all the folks coming in from out of town, international for the matches, and then you're right by the site of the final. So that should be fun for you guys as well in the Big Apple.
Yeah, I wish they didn't ban Airbnb in New York City because I definitely would have rented my apartment out for like a month. I could have made 50 grand. People are going to pay so much money, even in Seattle. I mean, you could probably pay half your year's, rent or mortgage or whatever in like a couple of weeks. Like people just pay so much money for that stuff. So hopefully they also spend it on memorabilia.
Yeah, for sure. That's funny. I had no idea that it was banned in New York. Yeah, well, I've been seeing articles. It might have been a couple weeks ago. The Seattle Times was saying, "Hey, interested in renting out your house for a couple weeks this summer? Here's how to do it and everything." So, yeah, a lot of people
Yeah.
are thinking the same thing.
Yeah. Smart.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to talk about some of the items, maybe the more prolific items in Leland's history. You've handled and sold Babe Ruth jerseys and bats and more. Are there any, like, is there something that's maybe the coolest item that you've handled? Just want to see if you'd like to speak about any of that sort.
Yeah, as far as game use wise, photo match Joe DiMaggio jersey, Mickey Mantle game use, pretty much game use jerseys of baseball greats. And we've sold like Jordan photo match jerseys, LeBron photo match jerseys before. Um, After 10 years, you see a lot of stuff. Like in the beginning, I'd be like, oh my gosh, that's insane. That's a Derek Jeter photo match jersey. And now it's like, oh, that'd be pretty cool to see. But now it's like, oh, what's, Mays and Williams and those guys. But we've also sold things that haven't been game used, like the 27 World Series ring by Babe Ruth and the contract that sold him to the Yankees. That stuff sold for like 5 million, almost 5 million bucks back in 2017. And well, 4.3 total. But yeah, that stuff was nuts. We were on ESPN and that was pretty awesome. And then one other game use item, Tom Brady's first touchdown pass football. That was insane. And then we sold his last touchdown football until he came out of retirement the next day. So that was pretty brutal. He sold it for like $500,000. And then the next day he's like, oh, I'm not retiring. So then that was a whole debacle. But we ended up selling that ball again down the line. But it obviously wasn't his last one.
Yeah, geez, not cool, Tom. Poor timing. Well, really cool. You mentioned, making ESPN. I see the headlines too when these record sales are made. Are you answering the press questions there? Are you guys putting out press releases and everything? How do you guys kind of mark the occasion?
Yeah, we have a PR guy in New York City that sends out the press releases, and throughout the auction, maybe they'll have some questions. If it's not them, then it could be literally anybody else. And we have some pretty cool stuff in every auction. So there are always interviews or questions to ask, and not always ESPN because that's like, the big stuff. But yeah, it's all fun.
Yeah. Are there any of these kind of treasured items that have maybe cool behind the scenes stories about how the auctions came to be?
Let's see. I mean, I'm sure if I went back in the archive, I would find another one. But, there was the family of the Last Dance security guard, John Wozniak, the guy that like was in the yellow jacket and like went like this and was playing that coin thing with Michael Jordan. We sold some stuff for them, and there was like a pair of underwear in there with the Jordan logo. We sold that for like $3,000, and it was on like James Corden talked about it on his show, and other people. It was just like such a random thing. It didn't sell for a lot, but it got more press than like anything we've ever done.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's certainly an out of the box item. That's up there with the George Washington hair, I suppose.
And there's people that like found stuff in the garbage, like game used bats of like not like a mantle game used bat, but people are like, oh, I found this in the garbage, or this was thrown out, and oh, it's a Ron Santo game used bat PSA 10. That's insane. I mean, it wasn't PSA before, but yeah, they throw it out like it's nothing, and it's just insane.
Yeah, is that still regularly happening? That kind of thing, or like the attic find? Like I'm just cleaning out my grandparents' attic. Like, yeah. Do you have some good stories there about how items were just unearthed?
Yeah, it happens. I mean, there are people that will buy something and hold on to it for 20 years. There'll also be people that have things like given to them. They inherit it and they had no idea what it's worth. But then there are also people that didn't know what they have, and they're going through their attic and they're like, oh my gosh, there's a jersey and it's signed and it looks like it's worn. What is this? They have no idea. And then, we authenticate it and sell it. But yeah, I mean, there are some pretty awesome stories, and some things are just in the most random places sometimes. It's like
Yeah.
a treasure hunt.
Yeah, it is for sure. Yeah, I know I've checked my parents' attic and nothing. Very disappointing. But are there any items that you've had that you completely outperform their expectation. Like you kind of got one thing, you're like, oh, I've seen something similar before. Could probably expect this amount fetching at auction, and it just blows it out of the water. Anything of that sort?
Yeah, there was a letter that we sold a few years ago. It had like a clubhouse or secretarial Babe Ruth signature on it, but it had autographs of like other legends, and they like all wrote like a little note. And there was like Mantle, there was Ripken, there was Pete Rose, but they were like pretty interesting notes. And we started it on $1,000, and we're like, oh, this is pretty cool, but what is it worth? And then it ended up selling for $300,000. And we're like, what in the world? Like, why? What? And, looking back at it now, it was pretty historically important, but still nothing close to what it sold for.
Yeah. Wow. That's a crazy. How many bids do you know that it took to go from 1 to 300K?
Oh, man. It probably took anywhere from 60 to 80 or more. I mean, yeah, those increments are pretty small in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. That's pretty cool.
And I'm sure there's other things too. Just off the top of my head, that was like the most prominent one.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty jarring. Oh, that's impressive. Um, I think it'd be cool to, take this time to see if you have any advice for collectors as well. If someone was starting to build a collection today, in your opinion, where would you recommend that they start?
I would say start with what you know the most, because, if you try to do too much and, put your money in places that you don't fully understand just because other people are, then you might, overpay or buy the wrong thing or buy something that's not real. As far as memorabilia goes, if you get into that, don't trust just any piece of paper. I mean, anyone can print out a COA and sign it. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is legit. You should, do the research to see what companies are, still around, and are doing a good job. So I would look into that. But yeah, just start small. If you're going to buy a crazy thing off the bat because you feel FOMO, you might overextend yourself or whatever, but just, gradually get into it and, follow people on Instagram, see how they operate, and look into auctions, just see what items perform well and how frequently they perform well. Just make sure something's not a one-off, and just be as cautious as you can.
Yeah. How does maybe timing affect when you should buy or sell memorabilia? Is there any time, like, I don't know, around the NBA finals I should be look to sell my Michael Jordan jersey? Like, does that make a difference?
It can, yeah. I mean, the market as a whole has more to play, I would say, than that. I mean, there are times where, Mahomes won the Super Bowl and his value went down in subsequent months. And it wasn't because he wasn't playing well. It was just the market wasn't good. But then you could have an incredible market, and, Michael Jordan's obviously not going to be in another finals. But if you have a finals jersey of him around the finals, I mean, yeah, that's a great time to sell.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, obviously a lot of factors at play. Cool. As far as things upcoming, obviously the spring auction is upcoming. What kind of cool items do you have prepared? Does Leland's have in store?
We have a Bobby Orr game worn jersey. We have this is random, but Junior Seau's USC jersey, his last regular season USC jersey. I think he wore it the whole season. We matched it to like a few games, but there just aren't many photos of him out there. 1914 Braves championship ring, unopened boxes, single car, a little bit of everything. Game used memorabilia, pop culture. There's just no shortage of stuff.
Yeah. That 1914 ring, that's one of the oldest items I've heard of. Do you have any good insight about the provenance there, about how that came into the consignor's hands?
I believe it was consigned by the family of the recipient, which is always, the best possible provenance, right? Instead of like someone says they found it at a barn sale, even though it still could be real. It's just, the family is better provenance.
Yeah, yeah, there's a direct line there, of course. Um, have you been going anywhere recently? You mentioned the consignment trips to receive items. Where did this latest auction take you?
Florida, a lot of cool stuff in Florida, and we're on the East Coast, so there's no shortage of stuff in these historic states and cities. You have New York, and you have Boston, you have Miami, you have Chicago. It's like really where the earliest sports history was pretty much made. So no shortage of stuff.
Gotcha. So that's pretty typical then, those kind of major hubs where, yeah, they've had teams that are over 100 years old, early 1900 MLB teams and that sort of thing. They tend to stick in that area.
Typically, yes, especially the stuff that gets passed down generations. And, there are times where we'll get something, that we'll get like a Ken Griffey Jr. Mariners jersey in New York, where that would be more, it'd be smarter, or you'd expect it to be from Seattle in your area. But, people move.
Yeah, yeah. People move, things change hands and everything too. So, yeah, interesting. There's got to be, maybe it's most of these items that come in, you're like, oh man, I wish I could have that myself. But anything in particular that you're like, ooh, what if I just made an offer instead of having this go to auction?
Hasn't happened yet. I mean, it probably, I don't even know. Like, luckily I could separate things, and, I wouldn't want to overpay, and I also wouldn't want to underpay, because then, it would not be good for the consigner. So always thinking of them first. But I don't know. I mean, there's nothing really on my list right now. I'm just going with the flow, and something comes to me, great. But like going to chase the stuff is, when it can get a little dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more of a level-headed approach there. Do you have a white whale in, like, for your personal collection? Like anything like, man, this is my favorite player growing up. I need to have something from him eventually.
I mean, I guess I would say a Babe Ruth bat, a game used one, because they don't really pop up often, and he's like the Michael Jordan of baseball. I mean, people would probably say right now, oh, Judge or Ohtani, but Ruth is like the original greatest of all time baseball player. And it's not just because I'm in New York and I'm a Yankee fan. He's just the best. So having that would be great. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. No, he carries some aura about him. He's just like a mythical hero, to be the first, the Sultan of Swat. I mean, he has an unreal PR team, and when it comes to nicknames too. Yeah, that'd be pretty tremendous. Well, hey, anything else about the upcoming auction that you'd like our audience to know about?
I'd say it opens March 29th. And if you are not on the mailing list, to shoot us an email, info@lelands.com, and we'll put you on the mailing list. We'll send you the emails, because there's a lot of stuff. And to hear about, stuff that's in our auction, it's pretty much emails, Instagram, and the catalog. So if you don't get either of those three, you're pretty much not going to know what we sell unless you go to our website. And with 4 auctions a year, you might not be always, on the ball with that. So check the auction out. Yeah, March 29th.
Yeah, you never know what you'll find. I'm sure there's something there for everyone. So yeah, exciting. That'll be fun to check out when it goes live here in a couple weeks.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I check the bids and refresh them every 2 minutes. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Is that bad for your sleep? You're staying up, doom scrolling, but instead it's just you refreshing, seeing if we got anything.
I don't do it a lot at night unless it's like the last couple days. But I'll do it once in the morning, be like, oh, what did I miss when I was sleeping? And maybe once in the afternoon, or just anytime I'm like bored. I'm like, all right, let me just check the bids. And sometimes things will go from $1,000 to 5,000 within 5 minutes on a random Tuesday. And it's just cool to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a sort of celebration, or is it just more like whew, all right, another one in the books? What goes down after an auction closes?
More of the latter, because there are like 1,500 lots, and you're like, oh, I hope this does well. This has to do well. This has to do well. This has to do well. And if, not, I'm tracking 50 things and 49 things crush it and one doesn't do great, I'm like, oh, great. This one thing is going to hold me back. And I don't know. I mean, everything works out, but it's a big sigh of relief when, the auction's over and you could see where things are at.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if you got 50 things that you're looking at, that's 50. I mean, maybe a couple people have multiple things to consign, but that's 50 individual consigners that are all hoping for the best for their one specific item. So, yeah, a lot to take into account for sure. What is your team doing, or maybe other folks on the team, as soon as the auction closes? Are they obviously once payment secured, and then it's just a massive factory line of getting things shipped to the winning bidder?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the auction closes on Saturday night, so people can't really pay until Monday. And then yeah, that's when the payments just start flooding in and the shipping department just gets packed and swamped. So, but luckily we've done this a million times, so it's not as overwhelming as it sounds.
Yeah, a well-oiled machine, I'm sure. Well, Jordan, thanks again for coming on. Everyone, check out Leland's auctions. Get on their mailing list. Check the website. See all the lots for the spring auction that's coming up in just a few weeks here. You don't want to miss out. Jordan, it's been a pleasure to have you on. Learned a little bit more about the hobby from your vantage point, your own collection as well. Yeah, another great episode. Happy to have you on.
Thanks. Yeah, appreciate it. Hopefully I could come on back one day.
Yeah, same time next year or maybe even sooner. But yeah, great to see you.
You too.
Thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode. Be sure to subscribe and follow our social channels so you don't miss anything. We'll see you again next Thursday for another edition of the Game Used Podcast by Resolution Photo Matching. Visit our website, resolutionphotomatching.com, or email us at info@resphotomatching.com for a quote today. Take care, everyone.